Yes, here we go. The bus revs up. It is Wednesday night, 8 o'clock. We promised we're going to do these every Sunday, once a month at the end of the month. Me and the big man, Tony, for 4 Tims. Naturally, after 2 months, we messed that whole order up straight away. So now we're on a Wednesday night this time, and we're catching up 2 months worth as opposed to 1 month. No shock there whatsoever, Tony. All great plans and that at the time, but brilliant to have you back on the bus, big man. How the devil are you, my friend?
I'm good. I was on holiday and I would have done it, but I was pretty much drunk for 2 weeks and I talk enough nonsense sober, never mind drunk. So I apologise. I missed the kind of start August review, but it's a pretty. I think this is a good time to come back on and
discuss
small things that have happened over the last week or so. So no, it's good to be back on. Obviously, still been doing a few bits over at the Pod Tim's channel.
You have, mate. You have. Get that plug in right now.
Plugging 2 minutes in. I'm just getting in there. Do you still punt Viagra? Is that still a part of the show? Is that still?
No Viagra's, mate. So you've got actually. I'm going to give you that 60 seconds worth to plug the 4 Tims podcast on YouTube, mate. You take it away. I might even get a hard one by the end of
it. Yes. Please subscribe to 4 Tims podcast. You can follow us at Twitter at PodTims. You can also follow us on YouTube at PodTims as well. You'll be able to see me, Dan, Kieran, Danny, Andy, all talking one lot of nonsense. But it's good fun. So Celtic related. We're very unorganised, but we try and get videos out as often as possible. We're on Instagram, Facebook, etc. But you can follow us on Twitter. We have a lot of fun over there, winding up the. There's the guys. Would I say just before we went on air, I get called this. This guy's following me about. Danny, piss off and take your Leah Thomas comment. This is what happened last night. Leah Thomas, come on. You don't stick to your Luke Capaldi or Samaras or Jesus or something. Fucking Leah Thomas.
Who's Leah Thomas?
And I don't know if I want to get into this. I think.
Oh, come on, Tony. Come on, big man. This is part of the 60 seconds. Viagra promotion. We're using up that time, mate.
Leah Thomas is a swimmer who is transgender.
Danny, you're welcome on the bus anytime, big man.
So Dan followed me about, told me Leah Thomas. I'm going to shave my hair off. I've decided. I'm going to.
No, don't do it, mate. Don't do it. I get the wish Paul Weller quite a lot. I'm like, I want to be annoyed, but I'm kind of like showing the bird it as well. Like, did you see that? Fucking Paul Weller they compared me to. What about the wish bit? Fuck the wish bit. Don't even about the wish bit. They seen Paul Weller first, then added that at the beginning. Anyway, we'll do all that good stuff. Tony, before we get stuck in, we've got to do all that good stuff. That's just a wee bit of housekeeping that we normally do, and that is geez a like, geez a share, and as we already have, slag our hair. If you want to subscribe to the Bhoycie Bus, do it. Do it right now. Hit thumbs up, hit the bell. We're going for 4,200 subscribers, which we're still only 21, 22 months in. So, we're doing okay. So, also, if you want to become a Bhoycie Bus member, like so many of you have, such as Balls to the Walls, still love that username, it's just brilliant. Gary Brown, like Alex, like Phil McGinley, like Sean the Mac, Charles Smith, Jim C, loads of yous, Gary Brown. I'll not go through anymore. But thank you very much. It's $1.99 a month, but all the content remains free. All that aside, Tony, I've called tonight's show, you like this, the overdue catch-up. I might just call it that. I know I've stole it from somewhere. I can't remember where I've stole the overdue catch. Is that Kevin Bridges? We just got it there. That's what he called his series, wasn't it? The overdue catch-up. That must mean I think you're funny. That's decent, eh? There's funny. Like a subconscious, like, say that again, mate.
It's fucking funny looking going by the comments I'm getting. So.
Listen, I know you're young and in your 20s. Don't you worry about the comments, mate. Just you focus on the conversation. Me and you'll do fine. We'll be absolutely fine, mate. Right. The overdue catch-up, it's called that because, like I was saying at the top of the show, it was going to be once a month we did this, right? And then it's became now 2 months. How much can you fit in, though, into 2 months, Tony? Now, we spoke about this in the summer going, it's mad we've not played a football game, and yet there's this much to talk about. Well, there's been 2 months since me and you last caught up. How much is there to talk about now? We're going to try and bring a bit of order into the show tonight, ladies and gentlemen, right? It's not, I don't have notes. I don't do any of that shite, as you know. However, I do have a kind of a plan. I think we look at the transfer window first. I think it's important that because it's beyond now the window shutting 7 days ago or 6 days ago, I think it's good that we can get Tony's perspective on it after the event, as opposed to still having a few what ifs in the conversation, if that makes sense. Then on top of that, what we're going to do is then look at the results that Brendan's achieved in that time, and then we'll have some fun looking ahead to Europe and, of course, looking back at Ibrox. That sound a fair schedule? Does that work for you, Tony?
Let's see how it goes.
We'll be talking Ibrox in 2 minutes. Right, okay, let's get stuck in it. I'm going to change a mic setting because it's annoying me. Whenever you speak, it's cutting you off at my end, but I know that everyone else can hear you.
That's a good thing.
How do I sound now? Does that sound different? That still sounds sexy. Right, okay. Transfer window, Tony. I think we all expected from Brendan some sort of marquee-ness to the window. We all thought, well, if they went big on Brendan, that'll be replicated in the transfer window. No one expected us to get ourselves liquidated, as seems to be the alternative argument all the time, and bankrupt ourselves. I think we were, based on actual factual end-of-year accounts, based on the money that's about to come in for the Champions League, and, of course, including in this period of time, the sale of Jota, I think we can all talk about real cash that was there and say it was fair to assume they went big on Brendan because they're going to go big in the transfer window. Sum up Celtic summer transfer window ahead of a second in a row guaranteed Champions League group stage.
I thought it was poor, to be totally honest. When you take away Sunday's result, and obviously it's all kind of, there's context to it and whatever, but I thought it was poor. When Brendan came in, I thought, oh, there's no way he's coming back without getting back to the hilt. And it was quite clear at the start of the window where we wanted to strengthen, and it wasn't a case of throw Joe Hartness out the door and throw Greg Taylor out the door and let's just bin these players. It was all about competition and let's improve and let's look to strengthen and have a good squad to compete domestically and in the Champions League. Brendan was saying he wants the fans to dream about the Champions League, and that's what you want. And I was so confident we were going to get the big marquee signing. That's what I thought was going to happen. I thought it might have been Podence or maybe it was the guy Vida. No, I'm not going to kid on. I know much about these guys, but I thought there was going to be a big statement signing.
I think that's fair. I
thought we were going to wait until Rangers had finished their business, and then we were going to go, here's have a look what we can do. And I think the thing, I just found the whole window really confusing, and I'll tell you why. I don't know what month it was, but Celtic put out a statement to the stock exchange to say we'd actually get more money than we thought we were going to have, which was a kind of, we're actually so rich that we've miscalculated and we're richer than we thought. So I don't really know why we didn't push the boat. I'm not asking for us to pay players $100,000 a week, or I think 2012 everybody just goes, oh, do you want to end up like them? And we've not changed our wage structure for a lot of years. There would be, and people going, oh, are you going to pay somebody $60,000 a week? Well, why not if it's going to improve you? And as you say, Jota 25 million, I think 5 million for Starfelt, 5 million for Ange. The Champions League money, sold out season tickets, which were increased by 3%. I think they've released maybe 3 or 4 kits. A lot of money's coming into the club. 4, is it? Sorry, yeah. So there's a lot, and it's not as if you're running me just spend for spending's sake. And I just thought how late we left it to get Palma, Phillips, and Bernardo. Could we not get these guys in? Well, sorry. Phillips, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Centre half, we had Lagerbielka, Naroki, and just obviously the injuries to CCV and Naroki. I'll give them benefit of the doubt for that. But Palma, I think Rangers were tracking in May. Why did we not get him in June? As soon as if Brendan identified him, why did we not get him right away or whatever, you know? So I just found the whole thing baffling. I would have tell anybody that listened, Brendan's back and we're going to give him a big pot of money and we're going to really challenge. Don't get me wrong, I think the likes of Yang looks good. I think Odin Home looks good. I've no idea why we signed the guy Quan. I don't get that because it doesn't look as though he's going to get a look in.
Did you see him? Did you see him in that pre-season game?
I do know if I did.
Oh, it was against Bilbao. I think, like, knowing that, and I know we'll talk about Brendan in depth a wee bit, I suppose, further on, but just knowing, like, the ruthless streak that he used to have about him, I just watched that. I watched him in that game, went, he'll go, that's okay. I'll say yes to your projects, but then I make a footballing decision, right? Is that the deal? And I think in 45 minutes of a friendly, he's made his football decision, Tony.
I know what you're talking about. I remember we started that game really shakily. I'm assuming he must have started then, but that looks a total waste already. I mean, can he get a look in against St Johnson? There's Kelly, and I think Holmes a good signing. Hope Bernardo's going to be good. Phillips, I think he might be the cover we need, and hopefully he's a kind of no-nonsense defender that can help out. He's got a bit of experience playing at the top league, and then Palma, I think, will probably be good as well. But if you put me in the spot and say are we stronger or weaker, I think you would have to say you're weaker because if they really replace Jota, don't know, maybe Palmer's as good as Jota, we don't know yet. So if they replace Starfelt...
But you're right though, Tony. You're right about Palmer though. That was one that could, like, surely the optics of it tell you Aris in Greece, £3.5, £4 million. That's a deal that surely, if that's who you really wanted in this window, could have been done weeks earlier. I was all for us waiting it towards the end of the window, Tony, if I thought that means a KT, right? For example. Now, I think people get hung up on the fact you quote KT and then everyone thinks, you thought they were signing Kieran Tierney. It's like, well, no, but players of that ilk that might be out of favour in the EPL, the said riches of that, maybe sitting on a bench and their manager going, you'd be better off getting farmed out on loan, pal. And that's where Celtic could step in. I felt that would take to the last 2 weeks of the window to get those types in. Maybe even a reduced fee on something we would normally not be able to afford. That'd be okay as well. When it becomes a Palma, I go, that's alarm bells for me. Not because I think this guy won't be good. He's got Jota numbers in a very comparable league to the SPFL, as it is known now, in Greece. There's not much between those leagues, let's be honest. He's got Jota numbers last season. I think bringing that in makes sense. But I don't know how it makes more sense in the last week of the window than it would have 4, 5, 6 weeks ago. I don't get that bit. And I think there's a bit of an underwhelming factor. You said the window was pish. I think with signings like that...
I says it was... I didn't say it was pish.
Poor, sorry. I just like you saying pish. I just want to hear you say the word pish. Because no one says the word pish like Tony, as I've said it on the bus many a time. But okay, let's call it poor. I think that's a reason, though. I think that's a factor in why it's poor. Just because that guy could have been in. He could have been making an impact against St Johnstone, Tony. No two ways about that, in my opinion.
Maybe poor's harsh. I don't know. I think the fact you lost the kind of spine of your starting 11. Starfelt, Moy, and Jota. And it's a lot of big players to lose, but maybe poor was slightly harsh. I mean,
I don't think it is. I don't think it is.
I mean, last Friday night, I felt absolutely raging. How we didn't sign a left back and a goalkeeper, I couldn't really understand at all. Don't get me wrong, I think Joe Hart's actually been one of our best players this season. He's made a lot of important saves at big moments. Wasn't it for him, we'd have lost to St Johnstone probably, and we may have conceded on Sunday. So I guess you need to wait and see how it goes now. But I just expect maybe our marquee signing's Brendan. Maybe
I think so. I think that's fair.
Mind you, I mean, you kind of go on. I mean, I said this in our pod, and I said it to a few people. I never realised, maybe a bit stupidly, how many people really still dislike him. And I was talking to people in the pubs, and they really, really dislike him. And I thought, Jesus, if anybody ever needed something to go their way, it was him. And next minute, he'd his salute to the sky with his fingers, and he'd won at Ibrox. I mean,
he knows.
That was back to glorious days for me. So I know we'll touch on the Ibrox win, but no, it was quite it's been a tough start to the season for us. Usually
Let's go to the window. I want to give you my tuppence worth on the window.
Right,
For
okay.
me, I just think when it comes to as an expenditure, I would like to think Celtic would have had a budget that increased based on the prize money. I'll give you the real example as to why I think this, Tony, right? We were conditioned for years. You've got to agree with this. Conditioned for years that we couldn't speculate before the Champions League qualifiers in case we failed. 2 summers in a row, pal, we've had guaranteed group stage, and our record signing this summer was 4.3 million for Rocky. Last summer it was the 2.6 million pounds for Jota and Cameron Carpenters. They'd already agreed to pay had the deal worked out the summer before. That money's ring fenced, right? That's not part of an extra expenditure. That's deals they agreed, not on the basis of a guaranteed Champions League, which defeats that whole argument all over again, right? So once you're in the group stage, I've not seen a shift from what we were seeing when the narrative was, well, we budget for Europa League, but we hope to make Champions League. Why are we still budgeting for the Europa League when we've already qualified for the Champions League? 2 summers don't lie, mate. Don't make it 3.
I still think there's a lot of incompetence at Celtic, which is a shame, really. Obviously, we're kind of run as a family business, I guess. You've got 2 Lawwells, 2 Desmonds, 2 Strackens. It's a bit of a strange setup.
Great point. That's a great point.
It's a bit strange, and it's Lawwell left, and then he came back a year later as the non-executive chairman. And I made this point on 4 Tims in a podcast, irrespective of whether Peter Lawwell's been involved in the transfer window at all. I don't know either way, but his presence is just negative. There's so many people are so wary of him. They dislike him. There's just so many negative connotations when you hear Peter Lawwell. It's Lywell, and he's back, and look at the transfer windows, and it just creates this whole kind of just a bad atmosphere where people are panicking because Peter Lawwell's back, and they're going, "Oh, look at the January window."
It's a needless conundrum for fans to have. That was my whole point on it, particularly when you look at that as non-executive chairman and people who've never had any exposure to business in their life, not reading the room and going, has anyone else got chairman in their title? No. Guess who the chairman is? Oh, right. You think he's the chairman? I'm like, if he's the only one with chairman in his job title, believe you me, he's the chairman. Now Celtic just call him the chairman.
Yeah, I think there was a bit of...
But they dressed it up when they first reappointed him as non-exec.
I think that was it. People were very wary of him coming back, and all it took was one bad transfer window or a transfer window people weren't happy with, and it was all Lawwell's mingling, and he said there's just so many, as I say, negative connotations to him being at the club. He shouldn't be there. I think he played his big part in Lennon getting the job and then keeping Lennon on, and the stuff that went along with that, and how we ended up with Ange. I always feel that the Celtic board need a good manager shielding them for the fans, and they've had it for 2 years.
That's true.
We Ange was running everything and running things very well, and I know some people don't like him. I must admit, I'm quite happy to see him doing well at Tottenham. That's just my opinion in that. But and now they've got Brendan, who up until I think if we'd have lost heavily on Sunday, the things would have went tits up. But a Brendan masterclass will probably save their arse for now.
It's interesting that as well. Tony, how do you feel about the fact that the actual transfer spend, I think David Kelly in the comments is kind of alluding to it. We've got a net profit just alone on transfers, let alone that group stage money that, remember, Celtic don't budget for, Tony. We don't budget for the Champions League, even if we qualify for it automatically. We don't budget for it. I think the ceiling that you're referring to, you're going straight away. No one expects 100 grand. I think you have to almost say that before you can even begin a debate that the wage structure could change and that there could be more flexibility in our manoeuvres in terms of attracting players to the club with a financial package that would suit said player on their stepping stone to one of the 5 leagues, which will probably become even less than that. It'll probably become the Elite 3 leagues in the next decade. You know,
And
that's just the way it's running.
you need to include the Saudi league now as well.
Well, of course. And the Saudi league's an interesting one. I feel that the Saudi league's been a bit of a leveller for us because Jota we didn't want to lose. And Celtic board have went, well, what's our record fee? 25 million. And they've went, sound, we'll pay you that. Probably could have got 40 off them for this. I bet you that's the best bit about it. We had a bit in the handoff in the first off of the Saudi market, mate. That is the reality. Whether folk want to argue with that or not is up to them. And I don't want to get too caught up in that. But I just feel for the club to move forward, regardless of how much I respect and back every player that we've signed, and I absolutely do. Anyone that puts on the Celtic badge, we back them at the tilt, and we will. But that doesn't mean it's fair. And it doesn't make it fair for the potential of going to Rotterdam, Feyenoord, the Dutch champions in the Eredivisie. Well, it doesn't make it fair to go there. Wait, Lagerbielke signed for the Swedish league, and Liam Scales is centre-back. When you're coining in money, you touched on 4 strips. You're touched on the increased percentage-wise in season books. These are all expected. These are all expected increases. We know how football works now. It's 4 kits a season. That's okay. That's what football clubs do now these days. But Celtic pay wages akin to, I think, 98, 99 season. This is not Martin O'Neill wages, by the way, that's getting spent right now. Get that out of your head. It's not even close, I don't think. And particularly when I mention that, relatively. When it comes to relative spend, what Celtic are doing right now is they're holding cash. I'm not quite sure why. And I think, as you say, if your elite expenditure is going to be on an elite manager, it shouldn't begin and end there. It should be something that you go, that's the springboard for further investment, further development, further excitement for fans. Fucking hell. Is that not what being a supporter is meant to be about? You meant to have moments where you go, oh, we signed X, Y, and Z. Do you know what I mean? Or, appointing Brendan's one thing, but I think he needs to be given the tools to let the fans, let them dream, all that carry on all over again. And I'm not convinced that I've seen that this summer. I think it's been a bit topsy-turvy. We got the headline news, we got the icing on the cake, never actually got the cake. We just left with a bunch of icing.
Let's just wait for it. I think, it is frustrating because you feel like there's this thing, as I say, it's 2012 when they went bust and all that. I think your fans are terrified of the idea of that, and we don't want to go out and really break the bank. We're not asking us to go bust or go to the wall. You're asking...
And there's so much room in between that, Tony. Sorry to interrupt, but there's so much room in between going bust and what Celtic spend. It's frightening.
No, of course. And there's scope for investment. And if you go and buy somebody 7 million or 10 million, go look, 60 grand a week, what if they're really good? And then you sell them for 30, and you keep breaking the ceiling of the transfer windows in Scotland. You keep progressing in Europe, and I think that's what Postecoglou was all about. It was just this constant aggressive transfer window approach where you're just looking to constantly improve. And I don't know. I just found the window a bit strange. And I'm not saying that if you go and buy £10 million player, they're definitely going to be good, but you've got to say there's a good chance. And for me as well, we need to be looking to do something in Europe. We can't just do our existence can't be just to beat Rangers. I mean, Rangers look like a basket case most of the time. You've seen them at the weekend. They all hate their manager. They hate their players. They're fighting each other in the stands. Our goal, and I know it's good. And nobody loves beating them more than me. But I just feel that sometimes that's all right, we beat them with Liam Scales and Turnbull and all that. We should never have been going to Ibrox with Liam Scales and Turnbull starting. We should never have finished at Ibrox with Ralston, Lagerbielke, Scales and Burnaby. That's just the truth. But that should never, ever happen.
How fickle a cycle are we finding ourselves in, though, Tony, where we want the results first and foremost on the park, but we're wanting more investment from the board. But when the results on the park end up eclipsing the investment from the board, they can go, aha, told you so. And I guarantee if we win a treble this year, well, it won't be this year, but if we win the double this year and last year the treble, they'll forget about Europe. They'll forget about Europe, especially if you exit it before Christmas. They forget all about it. They just love celebrating over the Huns. That's what happens. That is literally how it goes. It's a genius play. They will have sat there high-fiving at that game. And of course, we want Celtic to win, so we can't go, well, I'm raging Celtic one because that keeps the board in situ. No one thinks like that. Oh, you're desperate for the Celtic to win, but you're hamstrung by it all. And it makes it this wee hamstring a wheel scenario where you go, how do you get off of that cycle? How do you evolve as a football club where they've got you on strings because they know deep down, we're still investing more than them. They know it deep down, right? We'll beat them more times than they beat us. Brilliant. Europe, they'll forget about Europe. They've got 5 months to digest domestic bliss. And once we start lifting trophies in the second half of the season, we're all laughing. I don't know how you get off that cycle. It's very difficult.
You don't, is the answer. It's just the way we are. And look, see, come the end of the season, if we've no done anything in Europe and we lift the league in the Scottish Cup, am I going to be out celebrating? Yes. Good evening, lads. Oh, Johnny Mullaney. How you doing, Johnny? I know Johnny. The Real McCoy, great pub. Was owned by Big Skin, who sadly passed a couple of years ago, but great boozer. Shout out to the Real McCoy. If you're ever
nice one.
Eat before the game, make sure to jump in. There's a lot of good pubs, actually. As I say, jobs at risk, I could get off on a tangent. But
that's all right. That's all right.
New Bar 1888, good pub as well. I know a lot of
see
people.
See the Silencer song, The Real McCoy.
Sorry?
Have you ever heard the Silencer song called The Real McCoy?
I have not, no.
It's all walking up Paradise Way. You can't hear it, mate. They may be talking about that pub. Someone could correct me in the comments. It's a fantastic song by the Silencer. See, when you hear it, you'll go, that should be getting played over the PA at Celtic. It's a brilliant song. Brilliant song. But I wonder if I didn't... there we go.
I used to drink in the Springfield Vaults. A part of my family, they own that. I wonder if there's anybody listening that's ever been in there. It's used to be called Flynn's, just across for the Real McCoy. So if any comments come in for the Springy Vaults, but all the pubs that are in Parkhead are great, and if you can get in beforehand and have a pint, and absolutely do so.
48 hours notice these days, mate, and a meal.
Funnily enough, I never got a chance to talk about that in the Pod Tim's YouTube. I've not even had a chance to read it. I've been travelling back to Ireland the last kind of day or so. But I think it's basically they're trying to introduce this new law for footballers going to the game, or football fans going to the game, where they need to, I don't know, you might know better than me, whoever's organising the bus needs to give their name and address to the police. They're not like,
buses allowed to park 10 miles away from the sporting ground, but the buses need to be cleared within half an hour of the sporting event finishing. If you're going to a bar, whatever, from said sporting bus, then it's got to be with a substantial meal. If you're having a drink, let's get it right and just make it in layman's terms so that people understand what they're doing. They're stopping you and your pals stopping at the boozer on your way to support your team, whether it be football. And by the rules, it's not just football. Any sport that you want to go to, part and parcel of that culture is meeting up, going for a beer, and they want to legalise that right in front of your eyes. That's fucking weird to me, Tony. I don't even understand that. I don't even know what politics benefit it, because I can't have bought any of these lying bastards. But I just go, what? It doesn't make any sense. And as a former publican, I know for a fact, one of the other rules they said was a supporter's bus on the way home isn't allowed just to stop in, basically. Because now, the rival pub from the one I owned is a pub, it's a Rangers pub, right? And it was just round the corner from mine, and it was called the Rising Sun. I remember Inverness Cali winning I think they won the Scottish Cup, and Terry Butcher was the manager. And he had great memories of that Rangers pub because he'd stopped there several times when he was a player. And the business it brings Bridge Island, like a tiny wee village, in the space of 2 hours. Chippy, they've got players queued out the door. French guys going, what is this? Do you know what I mean? And that pub, absolutely jam-packed. You know, why stop all this like, what's the agenda? What benefit does it bring? I don't get it. I think it's vilifying football fans in particular, but there's a far greater thing than that as well that they're demonizing. And it's like, do you just want people to stay at home, or what's the crack here? It's just weird.
I think it's the Tories being horrible bastards and just wanting to stamp all over the top with the working class. I think it's letting the working class know, look, you'll do what you're told when we say. It's just, I mean, that's just ridiculous what you've just said to me there. I mean, football fans in this country have been demonised for far too long. It's an absolute disgrace. The SNP and their stupid what was it? Their bill where you couldn't sing certain songs and they were putting people's doors in. I remember we had one of the guys, I think, for the Green Brigade on the podcast, and he explained some of the harassment he was subject to during that time, and it was the bill that they'd put in place. And this is when Celtic were looking at employing Bernard Higgins, and there was a lot of protest against that because he'd been involved in basically just
absolutely.
I don't think anybody was ever found guilty or anything. It was just a way of attacking working class football fans. As you say, I mean, why do you want to hurt local economies? I mean, I've been on supporters' buses. I've never seen any trouble in my life. I don't doubt there probably is some, but people having a drink, having a bit of a laugh, having a carry on, listening to some music, getting up for the game. I think the police in this country are antagonistic. I think they do everything they can to intimidate fans and to get in the way of fans. I mean, who the fuck wants to walk to the football and you've got a horse and horse shit all over the place? I mean, and I think there was a crush nail at Celtic Park about 5 years ago because of the police. So I think the whole thing's an absolute disgrace. I think Celtic should be working with every other club in Scotland to make sure that this doesn't go ahead. They should be in talks with the Scottish Government and the Westminster Government to basically tell them to fuck off. I think it's pretty disgraceful. I mean, people like us, we work all week and then at the end of the day, you just want to go and enjoy the football kind of thing. And so many
Let's
people
stifle that enjoyment as well, eh? Let's stifle all that. You know, it's just bizarre. I don't want to go too deep into it, but yeah, it's very relevant right now. It's very relevant, Tony, and I'm sure you'll have loads of opportunities because I know in the Full Tim's pod, you guys go every weekend, week out. And what would that have? How would the Full Tim's podcast have began if it hadn't been for a drunken idea, or not even drunken's the wrong word to use, an excitable idea over a few pints after a Celtic game? That's how these ideas are formed. I just don't understand, like, what it's stifling people's freedom just to be themselves and make their own choices, and it's just bullshit. And that is not the world that we want to live in.
I mean, let's be honest, the best part of the football is going for a fucking pint after it half the time. When you
I
do
agree.
it, your pals, you're out with your family. I mean, I love going for a beer with my dad after the game or before the game. And usually when
the private jet back to Dublin, obviously, you know,
well,
we've heard about that.
I don't know why I'd be going to Dublin if I live in Derry, but you're close. They both start with the letter D. So close.
That'll do.
But I did just a nonsense attempt to just kick fuck out the working class again. So
Yep.
I hope that is thrown out. There's no common sense in it. It'll just cause people to get arrested because people won't listen. It'll just agitate people. And anybody enforcing it is a fucking clown, to be totally honest.
I totally agree with that. Right, let's talk about Brendan's next phase, because the next phase, Tony, wasn't just the transfer window, albeit these were concurrent events. We're doing the overdue catch-up, ladies and gentlemen. I know there's just shy of 200 watching live right now, so a big shout out to you all who are watching. Remember, like, share, slag the hair, all that carry on. When it comes to then the results Brendan had, now the transfer window we've looked at as upon a closed shop at that point. Notwithstanding that, the impact of said transfer window hasn't been that massive on the results so far, but there seemed to be a massive impetus, Tony, on the style of play of Brendan. I want to give you my take on it. I feel like it's been way over exaggerated how negative this guy sets up. Like there's been a complete erasing of the history of, like, let's look at the St Johnstone goal, for example. Remember the one where Dembele finishes it off, 2 Panencas, 40 up. Yeah, guys, it keeps a bit negative, that, Brendan. Never let the boys express themselves. You know, he doesn't. No, it's not really his style. I think actually from a player point of view, they've maybe took his message, having been on the rock and roll Ange bus, if you like, Ange ball. And then when Brendan's bringing in something different, they've almost took it to this next sphere. And I also think at times our eyes are lying to us and we're watching it from a different prism than what's actually occurring in front of you. And that is, this ain't as negative as it's getting made out. Somewhere in the middle, we'll win more football matches than we lose. Sunday we'll get to, but I want your take on the fact, before Sunday, we'd drawn 0-0 at home at St Johnstone. We'd exited the first ever cup competition Brendan's ever lost in his first attempt since he came back. And what the ripple sort of effect of all that is. Also remember, 4 goals against Ross County, 3 goals at Pittodrie. What about the balance on all that, Tony?
Well, the whole Brendan plays this boring style. I mean, when I was watching us beat Rangers 5-1 at home, 5-1 on away, 5-0 at Parkhead, 4-0 in the Cup, I don't remember falling asleep during it. I don't remember being particularly bored. The idea that towards the end it was all running out of ideas isn't true. I think he'd won 9 out his last 10 before he left, or something to that degree. I think he was in a good run of form, albeit I think we'd lost to Valencia in between, but domestically, he would have won the treble. There's absolutely no doubt about that. So congratulations to Paddy. Just says that his first grandchild was born 3 weeks ago, and she's already seen Celtic beat Rangers. So there you go.
Paddy Lavery, your first grandchild is born into an era only this generation know. Winning.
But don't get me wrong, I thought we were fucking dreadful against Kelly and St Johnstone. I mean, you could have fell asleep during the games. I think, as I said before, when Kelly scored, you'd as well just have blew for full time. We were never scoring. I thought we should have had a penalty, and I thought they could maybe have sent the guy that elbowed Greg Taylor off, but I'm not going to blame that for the defeat. I thought we were really poor, and I was worried for Brendan after the St Johnstone game. It was, the boos were loud and people were really worried about him and seemed to think he wasn't into it. The players weren't playing for him, and now here we are.
It's interesting though, because this guy's came in. I think the backlash towards Brendan's, even his results so far, I mean, the League Cup, I've said a million times, man, I'll sacrifice a League Cup. The third top domestic competition in Scottish football. Why is that held to more scrutiny than a negative defeat in Europe? Which it is. Whether we like it or not, the negative results, and I remember Lenny's one where he lost to Ross County in what became a disaster of a season. But the vitriol then was way higher than the fact we didn't qualify for the Champions League. I always remember that stuck out to me, and I went, oh God, is the next generation of fan base getting conditioned to start regarding trebles before the club actually developing? Now, not for one instance, Tony, does that mean we want to go out of domestic cup competitions? No, it should be something that's palatable when someone's in the infancy of a regime at the club. Big Ange, the biggest tournament in Scottish football is the league. He won 3 out of 7. He had no credit in the bank at this point. Okay, albeit he had never fled in the night as described. I think what we said earlier about the transfer window tells you that there's maybe more reasons to why Brendan left first time around than just Brendan being an egotistical Leicester City supporting or EPL supporting idiot. I look at that and I go, Ange had no credit in the bank, yet got the patience. Brendan seemed to be, when I looked at the footage after the 0-0 game, the knives were sharpening. And I felt, honestly, after I felt a wee bit sick, I thought, shit, I'm maybe off-piste with where the rest of the fan base are right now. Like, I'm not on the same page. I feel like this is the most exciting appointment we could have made. I thought it was a standout candidate that Celtic went and got early, unlike the players. And they went and got him early. They have went and got a guy who literally guarantees you success because he's got a track record of doing it, not 20 years ago, in recent history. Yeah, you've seen that 0-0 game on the back of the League Cup defeat, which we deserve to lose. We were murdering that game. But he's only 3 games into his tenure at this point. Then the 0-0 at St Johnstone. And you've seen the footage and he's going around clapping. I thought, oh God, I did not expect the reaction to be that bad. How do we balance that, Tony? Is that always going to be an undercurrent now in Brendan's second era, do you think?
No, after Sunday, I don't think. I think everybody will need to just get on board now, and I think most people will. As football fans are fickle. There's what better way to get Celtic fans on side than going to Ibrox in front of 50,000 Rangers fans and beating them with Liam Scales, Lagerbielke, Bernabe, Ralston, Turnbull, missing Hitati, CCV, Naroki, your new signings can't get in, Bernardo, Phillips, Palmer, and you rock up and you beat them quite comfortably. Now, I know we're going to get to it, but that game could have finished 3-0 to us very easily if Kyogo was a bit more clinical with easier chances. So I think everybody will be on side now. I've always been Brendan daft. I'm a big fan of his. I think he's a great manager. I thought some of the memories for his first time were exceptional. Always been a fan, and I would never have called for him to get sacked if he took a doing on Sunday. I was thinking that after I watched them get beat off PSV, I thought domestically I think we're going to be okay here. Even if we lose on Sunday, I always thought we'd be okay. But I agree with you. What you said was spot on. I felt as if I'm well out of tune with the rest of the fans here. A lot of fans didn't want him, don't like him, and I thought, fuck. And I thought, if he starts losing games, people are going to call me a hypocrite if I don't go after him after the way
I blame you. I blame you for the amount of times you posted that wee clip of him clapping his own comment.
Anyway, Green story. Sunday just felt like Brendan's back. It was very Brendan. I thought it was a great managerial display. I thought to win with that team, keep a clean sheet at Ibrox for the first time since 2019 when Edward and Hayes scored, and to be the first man to win there, manager to win the game when there's absolutely no away fans, I thought it was a phenomenal achievement. And actually I put a thing in the Pod Tim's Twitter the day, him celebrating. I says this could be 2016, 17, 18 or 2023, and he's got an 83% win rate at Ibrox. I don't know if the best Rangers managers ever would have as good a record as that.
No, that must be the record in the derbies. Must be.
So but I mean, he might have a better record at Ibrox than some of their greatest managers.
Oh, what Ibrox? I'm thinking you mean in away grounds.
Well, I just his record at Ibrox 83%. He might have the best record at Ibrox. I don't know. I need to check it. I'm sure.
That's just took that point to a completely new level. I was like, yeah, compared to like away grounds, I'm like, yeah, definitely that'll be. You think some of their best managers, he's got a better win rate at Ibrox over a substantial amount of
over. I think it's over. It's over 6 games.
It must be over that.
Yes. Well, he won 5 out of 6. And no, wait, let me think. He's won 5 out of 6. Lost 1 to Steven Gerrard. So 83% win rate at Ibrox. That's not bad for a Celtic manager. So I think it's
that's delicious.
Time everybody jumps on board with Brendan and we go along for the ride. If he ups and leaves us to go to Saudi Arabia, then I'm not taking any fucking blame for it. But I'm right behind him.
Tony, this guy was in TalkSport this morning.
I heard that. I didn't hear him, but I knew he was on.
He literally said we called it the whole time. I don't know if this Sean guy. I mean, he keeps saying "Oi, Bhoycie," like we hear you in capital letters. How many chops has Bill got? What does that mean? If you can tell me, I'll just block him.
How many chops has Bill got? I'm assuming that's a reference to Still Game. It was a still game.
I mean, it's a Celtic sort of avatar he's got. So I'm like,
well, how many?
Sean, he just keeps posting it. So I'm like, Sean, you can have your wee 3 minutes of fame. Tony's on. We get it. It's a big deal when Tony's on for the full.
The answer 6. If it's the Still Game reference, I think he had 6, and it was Peggy and Winston and the butchers.
Right. You happy with that, Sean? Thank you, Sean, though, for keeping asking us because we're trying to have a conversation. But eventually, it's like the capital letters win. So, future reference, if you keep typing in capital letters, guys, I'll probably bring it up. Right? I'm that simple because it just lets me move on.
I hope he answers to tell me I'm correct. I'd like to know I'm correct. But
yeah, he'll shout at me in the meantime, if not. But Aye. So when you look at Brendan talking about the Saudi offer, I said for the get-go, I mean, if you think this guy's joined Celtic, Celtic's been his only offer, you're crazy. I went, look what Saudi Arabia's doing right now. Stephen Gerrard ended up getting a job, but I said it before that. I went, Saudi, like, he'll have an offer for Saudi. No two ways. Brendan's here this time, whether we like it or whether we're believing it or etc. or not, because he wants to be. I think he feels guilty. I didn't think he expected the backlash he got, and I think he thought half a story's been told here. I reckon this time around, he said his own words, it'll be 3 years at least, unless, what did he say, unless my bidding's away or something? What did he say?
Unless I get weighed in. And after the St Johnstone game, I thought you might actually get weighed in if you don't fucking get played. But I thought Sunday really looked like one team playing for their manager, implementing his style, and one team booting the ball along and hoping for a miracle kind of thing. So that was my thinking. Bhoycie, shows your netted tank top vest.
It's a wee bit weird, like, so see, like, folk get like a wee bit like touch, like, oh my god, he's drinking a can of Stella Artois. I'm like, reassuringly expensive. Cool Daddy will be, on the white lantern right now. And he's like, shows your netted tank top vest. Is it under your top? No, mate. No vest required. People get obsessed with appearances and how people act in life, Tony, rather than just focus on the football. Focus on the football, which we're talking about right now. So, Brendan has those negative results, Tony, and you're absolutely right. I think there was a point when you've seen the fans reacting the way they are, you're going, that's history, or as Mourinho would say, football heritage. There is a bit of that involved, but also this is almost looking a wee bit toxic here. This might not, and none of us fancied Ibrox. Let's talk about Sunday for the next 10 minutes. Because Sunday for me was, Brendan, you've got a week to sort that transfer window out. Now, me and you have spoke about the reasons why it didn't, and we're gutted about that. Yeah, or not gutted, confused, I would say would be the word. But what we expected or hoped would happen didn't happen. Then you're seeing the injury list, the players missing, and you're going, wait a now, what's happening here? They got scalped midweek, and I watched their fans turn the real heat on their manager, Tony. And I did a show that night, and it was headlined, Is the Narrative Turning in Time? Bearing in mind, we knew Palmer was about to be announced. We knew Nat Phillips that night was going to be announced very soon as well. Suddenly, I just felt the mood music's changing here. However you go from all that, you see the lineup. Let's just be real. It's not being a prick about the players, not even in the slightest. But that Celtic lineup, when I seen it without not even one new inclusion, I expected at least one debutant. None, Tony. And I'm like, oh shit. Scales, Lagerbielke's not been brought in to be the first choice centre back. Scales is about sixth choice now when you include Nat Phillips. I just feared the worst, mate. I really did. I seen David Turnbull in the midfield. He's came under a lot of criticism. That worried me. Is there going to be one pace midfield with O'Reilly and Turnbull in there? The front three was my optimism. I said it on the Sunday Blether before we did the game. I said, that front three is still a front three you wouldn't swap for theirs, no matter who they've signed. So Abada terrorises them. He's got a track record against them that makes them hide behind the couch, the fans. You look at Kyogo. He's the guy who found his touch against them. He found his poise against Rangers in January. At that point, he had, I think, 5 goals before going into Sunday just there. And Maeda is the guy you need to counter their press. The blood and the thunder and the staunchness, Maeda is the antichrist to that because he won't stop the whole game. He'll pin you back. He stops having you for a start in an attacking perspective, but he takes Celtic up the park with his off-the-ball work. I said, that front three I wouldn't change. Notwithstanding that, Tony, I think there was a lot of worry, particularly leading up to the game. Then when we seen the lineup. However, talk to me about your journey before, during, and then after beautiful Sunday at Ibrox.
I thought we were going to get beat. I was so confident we were going to get beat. When I seen the lineup, I was even more confident. I just thought there's no way. And do you see the home advantage in these games now that you don't have the away fans? If you look at it, the home team usually wins. You've had the odd one since 2018 where the away teams won it. I think they've won once at Parkhead and we've won maybe twice at Ibrox. But the fact that we were this was with no fans. This was totally different. Even at 700, I think if you scored, you can hear them. There's no fans. I think the only fans there was the board, Davy Hay and Fergus McCann. So there's no
Can I quickly just come in on that? How funny it turned into. Kyogo didn't even know he'd scored. He thought he was offside. That's why he hit it early. I'm like, no, Kyogo's confused because it's the most unnatural feeling ever when you hit the back of the net. That there's zero celebration. It does naturally, instinctively makes you go, what the fuck just happened there? They've twisted that. Even Kyogo thought he was offside. That's Chris Boyd's word at halftime.
No, I don't think so. Even if he thinks he's offside, I don't think he's going to hit it early for that reason. He would play the whistle because he's not a fucking balloon. He's hit it early because he's a very good player and it's an absolutely exceptional goal, by the way. That's one of the best finishes you'll see against a very good keeper. He's probably their only summer signing. I think they actually don't want to string up. I think they actually like Jack Butland, and if you watched them against PSV, if it wasn't for him, they'd probably get beat 8-1. So he's a good keeper, and I think Kyogo caught him by surprise. I think he hit it very deliberately. I don't think he's hit it early because he thinks he's offside. It's not a game of FIFA.
It's bizarre. It's an embarrassing critique, that, Tony.
He's miles onside. It's an excellent goal, and it was kind of pointed out to me, and I mentioned it in pod terms last night. The only reason we score is because there's been time added on to disallow their goal, which makes it all the funnier that that's the only reason we got the goal. But it's
lovely. That's delicious, that Betty. That is delicious. That is just too good.
I mean, them cheering our free kick after he's went to the VAR monitor. I mean, just that'll get played for years, celebrating a Celtic free kick because they think he's given the goal. And I've seen this debated all week. Basically, I think that it's been explained that he's impeded Lagerbielke while he's got the ball. I think Lagerbielke hopefully learns for that, knows not to dally in the ball going forward to get away with it. So, but Kyogo should have scored the one that McGregor puts a bad in behind. He tries to backheel it, misses. He went through, and then I think Goldson cleared one off the line. And then there was another one, second half. I think Johnson put him through, and he blazed it over the bar when he could have played it back to Abada. So any idea that we were under the cosh and get lucky is a nonsense. It's probably one of my favourite wins at Ibrox. To see us win in front of 50,000 of them and the boos, my God. I was talking to one of them and he says he'd never seen Ibrox like it. And it looks.
What about those cheers? What about the cheers when they're disallowed goal they thought was given as a goal?
Yeah, I mean, last night, I think that's how I started the podcast, to see if you could have written a script. It wouldn't have been as funny as what's kind of happened in the end with the daft lineup we finished with. All their fans booing. I think Kmart Roof posted pictures in his social media last night of a goal that didn't stand just to annoy them more. You've got them. I think there was a papal conspiracy involved as well, and follow. They were saying that the reason we're winning is because the Pope told us to get organised when he visited Bellahouston in 1982. So it's just been a pure scream. You know what it's like. I mean, it was just such a surprise to get the win, but it puts us in such a promising position. To be clear, I know the League Cup really disappointing. I want to win everything Celtic go into, no doubts about it, but I think now the international break's here. Look at the turmoil over there. They want their manager sacked. We've went there, and they won't play a Celtic team as weak as that again this season. There's absolutely no way. The next Celtic team they play, if we've got all our players back, CCV, Naroki, Hatate, etc. Yep, they booed it. They booed, I think, Roof coming off for Lammers. Lammers missed a kind of open goal.
Yeah.
But Tony, as I say, they had chances.
Tony, I mean, you're going to get chances in these games, right? I thought Celtic actually created the more clear-cut ones. One thing I want to ask you about is now how the landscape looks. You know, obviously, when I talk about Brendan, I think there's an ego there, which I think you guys it's particularly on Twitter, have played on and made it almost parody. But it's because there's a wee bit of truth in it. This guy has got an ego, right? Who pulls out reflective aviators, mate, after that game when you're operating in Glasgow? They've been in that glove cupboard, right? They've been in that glove cupboard for a moment in time. When he drives by with a hand out and the reflective aviators, you're going, he knows what he's doing. That's a man finding his bollocks again, in my opinion. Flip it. They are now beginning to see what we have parodied the whole time, Tony. And that is a manager who looks like he just talks too much, is out his depth, and will talk himself into more trouble than even Celtic can create him. For him.
Bale's a waffler. I actually thought he'd done a reasonably good job when he came in of managing to beat the other teams. But when it comes to meaningful games, he's died in his arse. His team selections have been wrong. His subs have been wrong. Or that Colin Ange, a lucky man. I mean, a lot of shit. I mean, I even heard after the game he was giving it the old, I don't believe everything at Rangers is broken and everything at Celtic is rosy. What the fuck does he know about Celtic being rosy? Just stuff like that he has. I think they're fed up listening to him now. I think he is a waffler. I think he tried to get under Big Andy's
Has he
skin.
talked himself into trouble though, almost, because he's went all in so many times. The amount of contradictions he makes, I think we find easy to identify as Celtic fans because we're looking for it. I think now they've got this. This is the thing. This wasn't his debut season as Clyde One were doing the other week. First game. Hey, look at Ange when he started this season. He didn't start well. I think that even their stupidest, daftest supporters are now looking at it and going, wait a minute. This guy's been in charge for a long time. And he's constantly contradicting himself.
Yeah, I think the way he went about it as well, I mean, I didn't particularly dislike Van Bronckhorst. Sometimes you dislike their managers a lot. I didn't think he was a total arsehole.
In the stands.
But then coming up when Van Bronckhorst was under pressure in the loud and drink with fans, I think it was a bit of a lack of class, to be honest, and then he's appointed.
He did a BT Sport interview saying, had we been in situ last year, we would have won that league.
I'll tell you something.
That's wrong.
There's not one person that believes that now. If him and Gerrard had stayed, Ange would have wiped the floor with they two as well. As shown the fact Steven Gerrard's now in fucking Saudi Arabia and Michael Beale's under the cosh. So that just disrespectful to Van Bronckhorst. Not that I really care, but he was. They're calling him a second car salesman. That's what he sounds like. He sounds like just a salesman, and I think. I don't think he's talked himself into trouble. I think his results just haven't. He can't go about saying Ange is lucky. Ange runs a table, you win nothing. He can't say, "Oh, everything isn't rosy at Celtic."
Yeah.
After just getting beat off Celtic,
but other results though combined, then they're then doing the homework. They're going, do you remember he did say that? Do you remember he did? Or do you remember he acted like that? There was a thread put out yesterday by one of their own, and it just timelined this whole sequence of events. I went, bear with this, it's worth it. And you read it and you went, do you know what? It's probably the only one that I've ever read that's been completely honest. But it's a fantastic insight as to how they operate. They operate on hope, not any sort of buy-in, not any sort of, I can see what they're trying to do there. There's this hope and instant results.
I don't think it's hope. I think they operate on we are the people. I think that's their mantra, and it's just we're always going to get the better.
Do you think that's a belief as opposed to hope?
I think it's just a nonsense. I think it's just a wee saying that we are the people. We're superior to the Fenians, the Tarriers, whatever. The Tarriers and the Fenians keep winning trebles every year, but we're superior and it's all going to come together. And after maybe, 11 years, we've won, I think, 11 titles, 5 trebles. We've now got the world record for trebles. I don't know if there's some of them sitting going, fuck it, maybe we are the people, maybe they're the people. What's going on here, kind of thing. So I think it's just, they go with that mantra and they run with it and look, long may it continue. I think Beale, this is the other thing that he was brought in as the mastermind behind Gerrard. Gerrard won 1 trophy. He lost 2 trebles to us. So the idea that there was a mastermind...
1 out of 9. 1 out of 9, wasn't it?
And you go back to the the attempt at 10 in a row season. We gift wrapped him a treble and says, here you go, we're garbage, we felt bits, and they blew that up. See, at the end, that was actually a really good result for us that they only won the league. It was a great result for us because they only had to beat, I think St Johnson beat them at Ibrox, I think, in the Scottish. I think St Mirren put them out the league. I mean, the League Cup. I know they won the league really well and we felt a bits, but for them not to win the treble that year, they should have won an invincible treble. I don't care what anybody says. They really, really blew up that season. I think it kicked on for them when Gerrard didn't get back in the summer, started working his ticket. They lost to Malmo. Was it John Dal Thomason? Do you mind the interview he done? He goes, I think they need the Champions League money, don't you think?
Well, clever lads.
And then he put them out at Ibrox, and then we started to get a bit of steam under Ange. We won the League Cup and beat them at Ibrox, beat them at Parkhead, and now we're kind of back to normality where we've went to Ibrox and get a great result. And Ange never won at Ibrox last season. He never kept a clean sheet at Ibrox, and Brendan's come back and he's done it right away. So, no, I think...
Brendan, mate. Got it back, Brendan.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, I was always going to back him. And I think we need it. And I think we're due to give somebody a pasting, and Dundee would be a great place to start.
Yes.
I don't think they're going to sack Bill, but I've never seen so many of them just so unanimous that somebody needs to get the sack. And when you get to that point, you're a dead man walking. It's very, very hard to come back for that. They go to St Johnson next, who have picked up a couple of draws after a bad start. They're obviously going to try and sit in and frustrate them, I assume. Michael Beale's one defeat away if he having to get sacked. I think that's the way it looks. Brendan's bought himself a lot of time. For me, if it was up to me, I would give Brendan the 3 years and just let him try and build here. I have to say as well, as much as I wasn't impressed with the transfer window, Kyogo new deal, made a new deal, Callum McGregor new deal. I think Matt O'Reilly's coming next, a new deal. These aren't aging players. They're at good ages where they're committing long-term futures. So that tells me they're buying into Brendan's idea. They're buying into
Hatate next.
Hatate would be great. I mean, Hatate's a phenomenal football player in my opinion. So I feel as though it's all starting to come. You know what it's like. One result.
I agree with you.
I'm going to Rotterdam in a couple of weeks, and I'm going to Madrid. And all that, but you're looking and going, fucking 12 points in the Champions League after one.
Well, before you go, Tony. Right. Well, I just want to steal your time for another 2 minutes.
Go for it.
Very quick rundown on the Champions League group and what your thoughts are on
it. It's a good group. I mean, I celebrated when we didn't get Man City's group because I had the fear of playing Man City. I did not want to come anywhere near that fucking big monster they've got up front. Wasn't interested in it. So delighted that we've got a group we can be competitive in. Are we probably the weakest team in the group? Yes. Feyenoord are playing well. Arne Slow, I think, was the manager that knocked back Spurs to stay with Feyenoord. Lazio, I think they just got a really good result against Napoli away, beat them 3-1. And Atletico Madrid are always there or thereabouts usually in the Champions League. They've reached a couple of finals under Simeone. But I expect more than 2 points. Last year we got 2 points. I think we need to try and get more. I think Rotterdam away first is going to be a tough one. I think Brendan spoke about bringing in pace and power. I don't know if we've done that. We're soon going to find out. Hatate's going to be back for that. Phillips will probably be included. So, look, it's great to be in the competition. You always want to be playing in the Champions League. It's the elite competition. It's winning that was the greatest day in our club's history. Probably always will be. We still sing about it nearly 60 years on. So you want to be in the competition. You want to be trying your best. And I think it's going to be difficult. If we could get third, I'd be absolutely delighted. And it would be great to win a knockout tie in Europe after Christmas. But if we're still in Europe after Christmas, I think that'll be a big success. I know it's easy to go. It's an easier group than usual, but these teams are still very good. And hopefully we can go off to a good start. If we can go to fucking Rotterdam,
Yes.
I'm not saying it's very difficult. Even a draw would be phenomenal. But you don't want to be doing what we done last season. You've got regrets. Like Shakhtar away was a big regret. We could have beat them 3 or 4-1.
I agree.
Taking the lead, and it's all good saying, we played well for the first half. But I think this year we need to be decisive. I think Kyogo needs to step up, and I think he will. I think he's good enough to play in that.
Me too.
I think last year people were quick to jump on. He never scored in the Champions League. 6 games isn't a lot. You're playing against some of the best defenders in the world at Real Madrid.
Sorry. See, just to be very clear on that though, Ange got a hell of a lot of plaudits, not points as well. He came out the Champions League smelling rosy, despite Celtic only winning 2 points. Celtic didn't come out looking rosy. So I think like criticism was, whilst you say unfair maybe on Kyogo, or how did the manager get so much praise? Because he had to go. Rodgers won't be afforded that same. He will not, and he knows that himself. He won't be afforded 6 good performances and 2 points. No one will give him that space. No one will. So I think we need to be a wee bit balanced on that. And I appreciate, by the way, your point. I think you're right, but I don't think it'll be the same sort of favours operated to the same favourite people this time around.
I think it just depends where you're sitting domestically as well. If he's running right domestically, then I think that buys him a bit more kind of leeway. I mean, for me, as I say, I'm right behind him. I always have been. I think Sunday kind of made me back. Giacomakis scored against Shakhtar at home, which put us 1-0 up at the time, I think. The missed chances they were really brutal. There's the manager I was talking about. It's his display picture, the old man.
But so, I hope Tony. Sorry to interrupt, but I just feel like I'm concerned that if we make strides in Europe this year in terms of performance, I don't think anyone will go, see what we're trying to do there, mate. You know, just good.
I think
just love seeing.
I know a lot of people dislike him.
He'll be held to a higher standard, mate. He's a better manager, that's why.
Well, I was saying that as well, but we'll see how big Ange goes. I think he's second in the league, so.
Come on.
I enjoyed the way Ange went after Real Madrid last year, and I enjoy his style of play, and I still enjoy watching it when I watch Tottenham. So, but I think Brendan can play exciting football as well. I think it'll be there'll be some moments you'll be wanting to hide behind the couch because we'll be playing it for the back, but that's the style, and we just need to go with it. So, look, Rotterdam in a couple of weeks, we've got Dundee, who he would like to think we can do a number on at Parquet, get in amongst the goals. Hopefully they drop points at St Johnstone, stretch a gap, and they're still in a bit of turmoil. But let's
they still got Claudio Caniggia playing for them now. See that?
I go now. So look, I think it's the same as always. I'm glad we're in there. I hope we can compete. I think we can. But we need to take our chances, be strong defensively. Everybody needs to step up. So I think, look, let's enjoy it. We're in the Premier competition in Europe. We're in a good position in the league, albeit League Cup's gone. Tough shit. We've won it about fucking 10 times in the last 10 years. So, look, let's kick on. I think we're in a good position. We've got a lot of players coming back. We've just won at Ibrox there in Meltdown. Let's go on. Let's try and win the league, try and win the Scottish Cup, and do a bit in Europe, and hopefully be entertained along the way with my hope.
Well, Tony, you've summed it up nicely. I will see you here again around the 31st, around Halloween. It might not be on Halloween, but it'll be around that time. We'll catch up for the next monthly overdue catch-up, as we'll call it from now on. The overdue catch-up with Tony for the Full Tims podcast. Remember, check out their YouTube channel, Full Tims, if you've not already been subscribing to their Spotify.
It's Pod Tims, sorry. The YouTube channel's Pod Tims, so feel free. Yeah. I don't know.
Oh, because you've opened up to more viewers. I get that. That's clever. I know what you've done there. There used to be 4 Tims in a podcast on the audio. There are Pod Tims on YouTube. Give them a follow. That may be no why they're not following you enough yet, mate. They're all looking for 4 Tims. Look for the hair.
So I've enjoyed it. It was good to come on and catch up. There's nothing better than talking about a right good result against them. And I just look, as I say, I'm going to Rotterdam and Madrid. I'll probably be drunk for the games, but we'll see. Okay. Let's enjoy it. Let's get behind the team and the manager, and hopefully we can kick on. And
yes, stuff. Cheers, Tony, mate. Loved having you on, pal. Nice one, man. See you all later.
See you later.